If you have $5,000 in the bank, do this. Do you want to build a stable future and retire early at the same time? Do you also want to start investing? But how do you do it? Where do you start? And when is the perfect timing? The answers to all these questions are in the video. Ready to change your life? Let's assume you have $5,000 in your account and are now looking for a way to invest and multiply it. But how? The most important thing to do before investing in anything, if you have this amount of money saved up, is to pay off your debt first. If you owe any money on a credit card, which if you do is the worst case scenario, but also the sad reality for many people, this is a great time to pay it off or reduce that balance. So if you're making the minimum payment on your credit card every month, you're paying a giant amount in interest and you'll be dragging the debt around for a long time to come if you don't get it under control. And we definitely want to avoid that, so instead of dragging the debt for years, use those $5,000 you have and get rid of that debt burden. Keep in mind that what you're looking for is to pay off your highest interest rate debt that you have to your name, then you go down the list and start paying down the next highest rate debt that you have to your name, and please make sure to never miss the loan or debt payment. Not even for 1 month, because it will come down crushing your credit and most likely you'll get a penalty for missing a month. So ideally you'll go down your list of what's charging you the most every month of your debt. Alright, the next thing to do when you have this amount of money saved up is to create an emergency fund for yourself. You've probably heard of this advice many times and ignored it every single time, but creating an emergency fund is a real thing that people do when an emergency happens, and guess what? You can't do anything to prevent it. Just think of a time something stopped working in your house, like a pipe, or maybe your toilet was clogged, but you didn't have money for a plumber, and those we can consider being minor emergencies. But imagine something happening to your car, or God knows what happened to your health and you didn't have any money saved up for this kind of emergency. What will you do now? How will you fix your situation? Whatever it may be if you don't have money. But if you create an emergency fund and this way be prepared for it, your life will be significantly less stressful, knowing that you have that money ready to go to cover the things you need. The alternative would be to borrow money or put it again on your credit card, but remember that those massive credit rates that you're trying to avoid, not having an emergency fund can put you at the mercy of those credit card companies and produce a very expensive debt that will last a long time. There's always a possibility that you will lose your job or get sick or become disabled enough that you're going to need to live on that emergency fund for a period of time. That's why even the best financial advisors will recommend keeping enough money in your emergency fund to cover at least, let's say, 3 months of expenses. Of course, you could go more extreme and save 6 months or even a year's worth of an emergency fund, but that's not that realistic. Of course, $5,000 is not enough to cover that, but it's a great start. And once you start adding to that fund constantly until you reach the goal you're looking for, that $5,000 will be able to buy you peace of mind, which is far more valuable than anything material, right? And once you have peace of mind, you'll be able to focus on other areas in your life without worrying about unforeseen events coming up and knocking you down. The next great thing you can do with $5,000 is you can invest it in index funds or ETFs. You could grow that amount by investing in mutual funds or ETFs that mirror one of the large stock exchanges in indexes. This is one of the best ways to maximize your gains as a small investor by simply letting someone else do all the hard work instead of you. ETFs are designed to duplicate the results of major indices, which gives you 2 benefits: reliability, and it's usually very lucrative. And although you may not earn as much as you would from a single investment, you can enjoy steady growth throughout that period, and it's also nearly impossible to lose your entire investment. Why? Because there are typically thousands of companies holding the shares that make up that ETF, so buying these ETFs means you are very well protected. The next thing is real estate. Although it is very clear that $5,000 is not enough for a down payment for a real estate investment unless you also have some equity to leverage or some additional cash that you have available. However, you can invest that $5,000 into a real estate investment trust or into a real estate fund, which allows you to tap into potential significant returns from real estate while not having to do all the work yourself. This is a huge advantage because you do not need to actively manipulate the assets or manipulate the assets managers or manage any of the leasing hands-on yourself. Another benefit is that it still allows you to get started investing in real estate, so you can start learning about it and getting the wheels turning on REITs. Because funds have been growing in popularity for over 60 years and now incorporate over a $3.5 trillion segment of investment options nowadays, if you do your diligence, you could discover something available to any size investor, including small investors just starting out, which perfectly shows how valuable REITs and funds can be. Once you have that money working and growing for you, then you can start considering branching into other potential investment avenues. If the message wasn't clear enough, let's repeat. So make sure to get into real estate immediately, whichever way you know and can, because the more you learn about the benefits of real estate, the more sophisticated and overall better opportunities you will be able to find along the way. Although REITs and funds are great options you can choose to invest in, the end goal is investing in the big leagues of real estate, which basically means investing in the highest return projects with the biggest tax benefits you can. To be able to get access to all those massive investment opportunities, you're gonna need to be an accredited investor, which basically means that you'll need to have a gross income exceeding $200,000 in each of the 2 most recent years, or joint income with a spouse or partner exceeding $300,000 for those years, and a reasonable expectation of the same income level in the current year. Another thing you can do is buy books, because they're some of the cheapest things that probably have the biggest ROI or return to investment. You must be wondering what I'm talking about right now, but a book is a $10 to $20 investment and it contains an insane amount of knowledge. These books can teach you more than anybody else how to improve your life and therefore financial situation, how to manage your finances, and how to do business in general, so you can reach your goal of retiring early while still having a stable future ahead of you. It is ridiculous, of course, to invest all this money into books, but why not take some extra cash and invest in your knowledge? It will surely be very helpful. Now, what you can also invest in and accumulate a lot of income is to start a service-based business. Now, you shouldn't invest all of this. Always save some for investing, just enough to get the ball rolling, but investing in a business is a great and very important thing. Why? Because although it technically is spending in the beginning, once the business starts running and starts generating income, not only it will pay you back what you initially invested in it, but it will also continue to earn more and more money for you every month. So investing in starting a business is definitely a profitable idea. And why you should make sure it is a service-based business, because it doesn't require a lot of money to start, since you probably already have all the necessary supplies, especially if you're doing it online. Supplies like your computer and internet, and what's left is for you to think about a high-income skill that you have that can also potentially help other people. Then you'll just need to start offering that service to them. The great thing about this is that you don't really need money to start it, since what you're actually investing is your time in the beginning. And since you've picked a high-level skill, you'll easily be able to charge from $50 to $200 an hour. And since you're only investing your time, literally the first client will make your business profitable. Why I'm talking about this in this particular video is because this is a great way to manage to save $5,000 if you don't have them in the first place, and then you can start investing them in things we talked about earlier, like real estate. So remember, first pay off your debts and loans and then invest the rest immediately, because otherwise you'll just end up spending it on whatever, And by investing it, you'll secure yourself with a stable future. And don't forget the emergency fund too. This brings us to the end of today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell button so you can get notified whenever there's a new business-related video.